how I grew up, you learn that important people do amazing things. Especially, like, if you look back in history, anyone whose name is prevalent in history, they did important things, whether they were good or bad. I just wanted to be important. As a kid, as a adolescent, as a teen, as an adult now, I want that importance. I want my name to carry that weight. That's how it's always been for me. But what everyone on this earth struggles with is how to do that. You can't tell me that there's one person on this earth who doesn't want to be important in one way or another. Even the most nonchalant or cool or I don't give a fuck type of people want to be known for being nonchalant or cool or not giving a fuck. Whether they should communicate that subtly or not, it doesn't really matter. We all know the truth. For me, it took a long time to find what made me important. I always had a connection to purpose. I always knew that I was responsible for bringing change and bringing joy into the lives of others. It seems like such a tall task. They always tell you the smallest acts of kindness could change an entire person's life. Or if you look at like the butterfly effect, something as simple as a choice of the color shirt that you wear could change your entire reality. But for me, that wasn't enough. So I tried everything I could find that, at least to me, looked like someone who was changing other people's lives. I looked for information. I looked for, moral beliefs. Because of all the people in history who have changed entire countries or continents or the entire globe or just humanity as a whole from their actions and their beliefs, their morals. I looked at people in entertainment, people who are musicians or artists or comedians or, filmmakers. I looked at these people and I saw how their creation, what they brought from their mind out into the reality, could change the entire aspect of one person's life or the perception of people, if only for a moment, and create this joy of existence. The people enjoy these things that they made. I guess my first journey in trying to do that was around like maybe first grade. I was just bored out of my mind, and I sat in class and I ripped up pieces of paper into like 4 or 5 sheets about the same size, and I would write these little short stories, whether they were funny or however I wanted to make them entertaining, and I sell them to kids around me for 25 cents. And I might have sold 4 or 5 and made like $1. But that was my first moment of, wait, I can actually do this shit, And once I started getting into music creation, I was introduced by my pops to this little app called Mixcraft. Shout out to anyone who knows what that is. And eventually he saw I was interested and showed me his FL Studio app and his little setup, and I made my way to my first song. Most artists, their first song is a little rough around the edges, unless you're a plant, but even then you have to, even if you change your entire persona and name or genre or whatever, your first song usually comes out at least a little rough. Mine came out awful, but I made the beat myself and I wrote the words myself. I wrote them on a piece of paper and I typed it out and printed it. It was corny. It was corny from beginning to end, but I made the song, and I felt really good about that. I even made a song with my cousin, and we sat there rapping about the girls in our classes, And my auntie took a little recording of it on her fucking flip phone and sent it around to my grandpa and my dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was the beginning of exploration that led to a long line of, okay, this is what I enjoy. This is what I'm good at. I can make this shit happen. I got to the point where I started making projects, and my first project was like 7 songs long, and it was pretty much hot garbage, but I sold it to my classmates for $1 each CD. I had some laying around, burned them out, and I felt really good about it, man. Shout out to anyone who still has one of those CDs. It's probably signed if I sold it to you, and maybe it'll be worth some money someday. But I wouldn't bank on listening to it to figure that out. But it evolved from there, you know. Now I'm selling $5, $10 mixtapes. It got to the point where I could sell 10 or 12 of these things in a day and make 60 to $100. And it's like, that's not a ton of money, but for a kid in high school or, you know, a kid in middle school, that's a payday, especially for all that, making that type of money in one day. And I know I can do this again. I could replicate it or make something even better. It was crazy to me, and it made me feel very fulfilled. Like I was speaking about earlier, my purpose, I felt, is always to bring change and enjoyment to people's lives, to their perspectives, to how they see the world. That doesn't come with a level of outsider, it doesn't come without a level of being an outsider. You know, because in order to understand how to change something, you have to see it for what it is. I was an observer at a very young age. Everyone around me had so much shit going on. I felt it was selfish of me to even try to be focused on me all the time. So I focused on everything else that was happening, and I just kind of autopiloted through whatever I had going on. You know, I never really sat down and was there for myself. And as difficult as that can seem for a child, I mean, makes you grow up with a sense of neglect. At the same time, it made me very dangerous because I was an observer. I learned how to see things, not just, you know, what I'm looking at, but I could see people's emotions. I could see how they felt. I could see what they were saying and weren't saying. I could see adults and what was going on with them, at least in my understanding. And when I got older and I understood life more, I began to see deeper and clearer and see so much more past what is in front of my face. And that is an invaluable skill, especially for an artist. In today's day and age, it might be one of the most difficult things to do, to see everything for what it is, to understand the truth. And the next step up, probably the most difficult thing to do, is inspire a change. If you ask me now, there's no other way for me to have lived my life to this point. Specifically because I can already see a lot of the change that I've inspired, whether it's a massive shift in the music industry or the tiniest bit of kindness that someone has passed along, from a moment where I was kind to them, or a moment where my weakness and my pain inspired them to be kind to another. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It makes the smaller version of myself, who didn't feel seen or didn't feel important, feel exactly the opposite. Feel like I have made such a significant change and impact in not only my world, but the entirety of this universe, you know, with other people, other families, other concepts and beliefs. It's gotta be conceited, but what am I here for if not to fulfill my purpose? I mean, I did a lot of fun things when I was a kid in search of attention, and I did a lot of things that maybe other people would say are not so good. But everything to this point has led me to understand that the younger version of me was like this fucking maniac who was just learning so many different skill sets and perspectives and beliefs and taking in so much information, so that the older me could figure out, this is exactly what I need to do with this. This is how this is going to benefit me. All these parts and pieces of my life that I thought made up this broken image of who I was supposed to be are really creating like this spider web masterpiece of who I am today.